Welcome to the third and final part of my conversation with Laura Colombino and Yugin Teo on Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. In this section, Laura and Yugin give their recommendations for related writing, as well as predictions for what might be coming next from Kazuo Ishiguro. If you haven't watched or listened to the first two parts, I suggest doing so first. If you have any comments or indeed your own predictions about what Ishiguro might write next, please do leave us a comment under the video. Welcome to the third part of this discussion with Yugin Teo and Laura Colombino on Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. If you haven't watched or listened to parts 1 or 2, please do check those out first. So in this third part, I thought I'd ask you for your recommendations for any related reading. I don't know what you're going to suggest. This could be other of Ishiguro's works or anything else. And also any predictions. He tends to go at about one novel every 5 years. So I feel like we shouldn't be too far off another one. I don't know if you have any inside information. I have heard nothing. So Laura, do you want to go first?
Okay. About inside information, so I have nothing to offer.
No big scoop, I'm afraid.
Very tiny thing. I've read in a very recent article for The Guardian that Ishiguro is currently working on a novel set in the compartment of a train, which seems another claustrophobic setting, perhaps not unlike the nondescript town in The Unconsoled, who knows?
I was just thinking The Unconsoled. We're going to go back to weird interior spaces.
That's right, yes.
We're going to get another 500-page break.
Yeah. So my speculation based on, the previous emotional landscapes, which, as you said, tend to hover between reality and dream, is that Ishiguro may feel that we are now on a journey whose trajectory is unknown. In Clara and the Sun, he insisted on the idea that society is at a fork in the road between hope and despair, because of artificial intelligence, because of gene editing. The emotional landscape that current events have created, I think, is one in which we feel we have lost control over our direction. We are maybe on a train hurtling towards an unknown future. So it may well be that he will try and capture this kind of emotion, this kind of feeling that that we are experiencing now. That I wouldn't go any further because it's
okay, fascinating if that's true, and yeah, it'd be great to see where he goes with it. And recommendations.
Recommendations, well, we talked about Clara and, Never Let Me Go so far. So perhaps the recommendation should be the companion piece, if you want to call it that way, which is Clara and the Sun, which is this novel about artificial intelligence and gene editing and how it impacts on, or it may impact on human emotions. Ishiguro's novel suggests that the possibility to survive our body by uploading our mind onto a computer may affect the way we see each other. And, once you have enough granular data that enable you to dig into people's personalities and reproduce them exactly, the question is, can you say that human beings are still unique? Can you value every human being for their uniqueness? So yes, the concepts of love and friendship that are explored in Never Let Me Go are again at the core of this novel. And he doesn't use the word soul as he does in Never Let Me Go. Interestingly, he uses the word heart for some reason. Perhaps the soul is more associated with the idea of the mind being uploaded, so he wanted to center our humanity somewhere else. I think the two novels are connected in many ways. One which is perhaps not so evident, or not a lot of reflection has been done on this aspect, is this idea of continuity after death. Donations are a way in which human beings vampirize other beings in order to carry on their lives because they are considered more important. In Clara and the Sun, you have something similar in the sense that Capaldi is a sort of vampire. And it is no accident that there is one scene in which Josie's father asks him, I don't remember if directly Capaldi or someone else, and he asks what else does Capaldi want from Josie? Maybe a sample of her blood. So there is this sense of, again, this idea of exploitations of other beings for the benefit of someone of another class, more privileged class, as we were saying earlier. And yes, it's a fascinating novel. One of the most fascinating things, as I said earlier, I think is about the visual aspects, visual landscapes, and also the fact that Clara, who is an android, seems ancient and modern at the same time. She seems like an ancient priestess of the sun, as in Egypt, but also she is a robot. So again, Ishiguro is very good at creating these ambiguities, which make things more nuanced, more fascinating, and more difficult to grasp. So that is my recommendation.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Yugin, your recommendations and any predictions?
I think Laura's kind of said the most important bits, because I too also read the Guardian piece and about the train. So I think that's all we have to go on publicly for anyone interested in Ishiguro. So in terms of maybe I'll start with recommendations, and I won't do Clara and Son because Laura did it so brilliantly, even to the almost godlike status of the protagonist. I think I can't go there now. So, but which is brilliant. I will recommend it's always been sort of my favorite Ishiguro novel, The Unconsoled, and it's interesting that you brought it up, Ivan. I've always loved the dreamlike, Kafkaesque kind of misdirection throughout the novel. Also linking with Ishiguro's anxiety then of being a very, a noted public figure, and the demands on his time. You almost feel like he's working through, his changed life since winning the Booker Prize, and the pressure to publish the same type of novel again, and this absolute rebellion and just coming up with this magnificent, messy masterpiece of a novel of a frustrated musician, which he has also described himself as being. And in that Guardian piece, he mentions Dylan, and obviously he's got an affinity with Dylan and Cohen and Mitchell and all these singer-songwriters, being one himself. So I think I definitely wholeheartedly recommend The Unconsoled. Stay the course. It will be confusing, but it will be very rewarding. And also a film recommendation called After Yang. It's a 2021-22 film, and it's about a couple with an adopted child, but they for reasons of language want to tutor the child, and they then have a robot to help the child with language, but then the robot malfunctions, and then there's this quest to try to fix it, almost like a very Ishiguro kind of premise. And the film deals with issues about bereavement, mortality, but also memories and what it means to be human. So a very good, I feel, companion piece to a novel like Clara. And so I think that might be definitely a film recommendation. And Ishiguro, being a cinephile, I think would probably approve of that, hopefully. One more recommendation, if I may, is this lovely book of lyrics that Ishiguro wrote for the jazz musician Stacey Kent, that comes together with images from an Italian graphic illustrator called Bianca Bagnarelli. And it's almost like Ishiguro, in that Guardian piece, talked about his interest in graphic narratives. So this is a useful collaboration where I think some of the nostalgia from his lyrics for Stacey Kent comes through in the nostalgic style of the illustration in that book by Faber. So it's called The Summer We Crossed Europe in the Rain. It's one of the song titles. I highly recommend that. In terms of predictions, I think because Ishiguro likes to work with genre, I think it's almost like a foundation he uses, but obviously he takes it to a different direction. I know he did Crime with When We Were Orphans. The moment I read about the train set in the train compartment in The Guardian, I thought straight away of murder mysteries, detectives, Orient Express, and all that sort of stuff. And he did talk about his interest in the golden era of detective fiction with Dorothy Sayers, Agatha Christie. So maybe we're revisiting that genre. It's just a very uneducated guess from me that if this were to be the next piece of work, and he has hinted before and it wasn't quite right, it was, he moved on to something else, I do wonder whether he is returning to the scene of the crime with When We Were Orphans and going back to a bit of murder mystery or detective fiction. That's my utterly unreliable prediction there, Ivan.
He did talk about When We Were Orphans as not being the happiest process, didn't he? So maybe he wants to put another layer on top of that. So we'll see. Brilliant. Thank you both so much for your predictions, your recommendations, and of course for the whole interview. Been great to have you on. Maybe we can do something again when the next book does come out. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you on, and hope all our viewers enjoy the conversation.